News Central now starts at this hour, and it begins in West Africa, where Nigeria's government says that there will be a threefold increase of electricity tariff from 68 naira per kilowatt hour to 225 naira, which commences April the 4th. The vice chairman of Nigeria's Electricity Regulatory Commission made this known in Abuja while briefing stakeholders of recent developments in the sector, saying that this will actually apply to Band A customers who make up less than 15% of available electricity customers in the country. Amadin Uyi reports.
The speculation for increasing electricity tariff has been ongoing since December 2023. This has put many citizens on edge, as the increase in electricity tariff will have similar effect like the removal of petrol subsidy across the country, which has catalyzed an unbearable inflation. However, speaking to stakeholders in Abuja, the vice chairman of Nigeria's Electricity Regulatory Commission says that an increase is inevitable owing to the increasing cost of gas and the rising foreign exchange rate.
The April supplementary order takes effect from today, and in that order, the Commission has approved a rate review of 225 naira per kilowatt hour for just under 15% of the customer population in NESI. So that means that less than 15% of the customers will be affected. Many of the customers previously classified as Band A customers will not be affected. In fact, majority of them will not be affected.
The government has the ability to determine what customers pay. Because at the end of the day, our responsibility is to determine a tariff that ensures full recovery for investors. How they recover that money is actually, in some extent, in the hands of the government. And this is not peculiar to Nigeria.
He, however, laid fears that all customers affected will witness improved service and longer hours of electricity supply, saying that the Commission also intends to obtain more data from electricity distribution companies going forward.
The rate that will be paid, which is 225, is just about 3 times the existing rates, requires that the customer truly get the service. So I've told you that the Commission is leveraging on technology to ensure that we get access directly to the distribution system and get the data. As the data is being fed from the meters, the smart meters that have been installed on the feeders, we are getting in real time or near real time. We don't give the discos the opportunity of any manipulation of data.
The Electricity Regulatory Commission also revealed that it intends to close the metering gap in the country using funds of those being affected by the increase in tariff. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And on now to manufacturers and the organized labor, where they have strongly opposed the Nigerian government's decision to increase electricity tariffs from 240% for users enjoying a 20-hour power supply. They have emphasized the importance of maintaining electricity subsidies, cautioning that removing them could lead to the closure of manufacturing businesses and exacerbate inflation. The subsidy on electricity has been entirely removed from the tariff applicable to power consumers in the Band A category, constituting approximately 15% of the total number of power users nationwide. The government announced a tariff hike during a press briefing held by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission in Abuja on Wednesday. Under the new arrangement, affected consumers will now be required to pay a tariff of 225 naira per kilowatt hour, a significant increase from the previous rate of 68 naira kilowatts per hour, representing approximately a 240% rise. And now to Nigeria's education, where the President Bola Tinubu has signed the student loans reenactment bill into law at the State House in Abuja. according to a tweet by the special assistant on social media to the president, Olusegun Dada. The bill signing took place at the State House in the presence of the leadership from the National Assembly, ministers, and major education stakeholders. The new legislation repeals the previous Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act of 2023 and reenacts the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Bill from 2004. The executive bill establishes the Nigerian Education Loan Fund as a corporate body tasked with receiving, managing, and investing funds to provide loans to Nigerians pursuing higher education, vocational training, and skills acquisition programs.
I've just signed a bill proclaiming the student loan effectively. First of all, I must thank the members of the National Assembly for their expeditious handling of this bill, considering the children of Nigeria, that education is the tool to fight against poverty.
And on to security matters, where the Nigerian Army has given reasons why any civilian has not been granted access to a Kwama community in Delta State, South Nigeria, where 17 soldiers were ambushed and killed by gunmen in the area after about 3 weeks of attack. Major General Nusakare Ugbo made this known to journalists at the 2024 first quarterly media chat held in Asaba, Delta State capital. On the state of the traditional ruler who voluntarily submitted himself to the Nigerian police force and handed over to the military, Major General Ugbo, who is also the Chief of Civil Military Affairs at the Army Headquarters Department, Abuja, said the king is hale and hearty, but still undergoing interrogation at the Defense Headquarters, Abuja. While suing for patience and cooperation from the public to allow the military complete their investigation, Ugbo said they are yet to recover all their arms and ammunition that were carted away by the assailants.
It's a crime scene. Even in civil crime, you see they'll tape it everywhere. So that's a crime scene. Investigation has not been concluded. So we are still, I don't think it would be appropriate for anybody to go there and interfere with investigation. So, because, okay, the other one, the traditional ruler, I believe, is safe. They are still questioning, still under investigation, and all of those things. So every other issue around Okwama community is still under investigation. And I believe, and I will assure you, that at the end of the investigation, at the end of whatever will unfold, these things will be brought to the fore.
To politics, where the River State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has promised to surprise anybody who dares him following the political crisis rocking the state. He said it will particularly surprise those who consider his honest decision to implement the Presidential Peace Pact as a sign of weakness. Now, Fubara, in a statement by his chief press secretary, Nelson Chukwudi, said he has been inundated with comments in the media about the implementation of the peace initiative, but chosen to be silent out of maturity and wisdom. He emphasized that the peace deal initiated by President Bola Tinubu and accepted by all stakeholders, including him, was a political solution to the crisis that engulfed the state on October 30th of 2023.
Here in our dear state is somebody who have respect for an elder. Mr. President invited all the parties to Abuja and came out with a resolution that we should go and implement. That resolution, I'm implementing it, is not a constitutional implementation. Is a political solution to a problem. And I'm doing it because of the respect I have for Mr. President. But let me say it here. If that action that I've accepted to follow will be taken for my weakness, I will surprise them.
And And we turn to health now, where the University College Hospital, USH, in Ibadan, Oyo State, is facing a power crisis as it owes the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company up to 495 million naira. Despite initial denials, UCH Public Relations Officer Mrs. Fumilayo Atibi confirmed the debt and appealed for help to settle it. Now, doctors, nurses, and staff have limited their working hours until power is restored, with a threat of a 7-day strike if the issue persists. Now, patients on admission are at risk as services are scaled back due to the power outage. UCH seeks assistance to offset the debt and ensure uninterrupted healthcare services. And now to discuss this, we're joined by Dr. Laz Ude Eze. He's the founder, Make Our Hospital Work campaign, and he joins me live. A very good afternoon to you, sir. Let's get started very quickly. As a global health advocate and founder of the Make Our Hospitals Work campaign, what are your thoughts on the situation at the University College Hospital regarding its power crisis? And just to add more to that question, how do you think it's going to impact, patient care and overall healthcare delivery and quality?
Thank you very much for having me. I think it's quite disheartening that this is happening at the University College Hospital, Ibadan, the foremost federal teaching hospital in the country, with about 1,000 bed capacity, and of course, arguably the best or one of the best teaching hospitals in the country. Ibadan is where I trained. UCH Ibadan is where I trained, so I have emotional attachment to what is happening. It shouldn't have gotten to this stage. I've read the news. I've also watched certain interviews where the chief medical director, Professor Tebayo, was making public appeal. There are certain questions we must ask, because this is an accountability issue. How did we get to this stage? How did it get to the point where the hospital is, as reported, owing more than about 400 million naira, to the extent that the electricity supply or power supply is cut off completely? Can we imagine the extent, the intensive care unit implications, like you asked, on the patient is enormous. Like I said, there are about 1,000 beds at UCH, and most times it's usually fully occupied. And of these, there are people in under intensive care, both adults and children intensive care units. There are people who may have been scheduled for different procedures, surgeries, diagnostic interventions over a period of time. So the implication is those who are under life support or intensive care, that care is going to be interrupted. Some of them might not make it alive, very unfortunate. Some may have, those who have money may want to transfer theirs to other hospitals. Those who don't have money will resort to prayers or self-help. It's also kind of very frustrating for the health workers themselves, who may have treated patients from the point of entry. And with these early incidents, we have to watch those patients deteriorate. Patients that are getting better will now get worse. It's frustrating for relatives of patients who have been caring for their loved ones, who have spent some reasonable amounts of money, and this has reduced the progress that is being made, and they will have to go elsewhere to begin to seek help. So the damage is unquantifiable, and we should never have gotten to this stage in the first place. I think it's a failure of leadership and management, at that level. All those who are involved, beyond arresting the situation in place at the moment, should also have certain steps taken to ensure that this never happens again at UCH, and indeed any hospital in this country.
Right, Doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, you just said that the damages and what is happening, it's just inconceivable, right? Let's talk about measures, right, in terms of solutions and just addressing what exactly the root cause of this is. There's financial struggles with this hospital, and I mean, this is just one, and I'm sure out of hundreds that we when it comes to our healthcare sector. How then can we not only just address the root cause, but also ensure the sustainability of healthcare services in the long term?
Yes, thank you. In the case of UCH particularly, the root cause analysis has to be done. How did it get here? And those root causes should be addressed. But on the immediate, well, I don't know how successful it's going to be. The public appeal has been made for people to make donations, and I encourage Nigerians to respond to that public appeal. And of course, as alumni members, you know, we should also take part of it to make that appeal, you know. But beyond that, you know, the government of Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Health, the Minister of Health should please intervene. You know, let this be resolved as quickly as possible. UCH is very significant in this country, you know, as a health institution, not just for patient care, but for training of doctors and medical students, and also for research, you know. So this should not last additional 24 hours. It should be treated as a national emergency. This also speaks to health financing model that we have. Now the electricity tariff has been increased for places that have up to 20 hours power supply, which I assume many of our health institutions will fall within this range. So this also means that the electricity bills will even further increase, not only for UCH, but also for health institutions in the country. So how do we fund it? Every manager, medical director should, you know, think about sustainable financing measures, you know, for dealing with the inflation and rising cost of everything. You know, let this conversation begin to look at, you know, these hospitals also have businesses within the hospital. You know, they have banks, they have some businesses, they have other means of revenue. What is really happening? How do we ramp up the revenue of the hospital? We know that patients' cost of care is highly subsidized, you know, so does government, apart from paying salary, give monthly subventions? What are they getting from internally generated revenue from these hospitals?
Right.
And what are other innovative ways of ensuring sustainable financing to ensure that no other hospital gets into this kind of situation? These are things that needs to be worked out, and
Right.
everyone should be concerned and get involved in the solution.
Right, Doctor, I appreciate you for coming on. Thank you so much. That's Dr. Laz Ude Eze. He's the founder Make Our Hospital Work campaign, and he's talking to me about UCH as they seek assistance to offset the debt and ensure uninterrupted healthcare services, and also just healthcare in Nigeria. Doctor, once again, many thanks to you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll move now to infrastructure development in Abuja, as the FCT minister assures roads and schools will be renovated. Now, Nyosen Wike has assured residents of the capital that the federal government will renovate dilapidated schools and hospitals within the capital. Now, this was as he continued his inspection tour of ongoing projects within the capital, saying that many of them will be commissioned on May the 29th. Amadin Uyi reports.
The minister visited several construction sites within the Abuja municipal area. From the Gusape extension, where he got a first-hand view of excavation works in preparatory to construction of connecting roads, to the Asokoro roundabout, where he also appraised the ongoing overlaying of coal tar on the major road. Other sites within the capital were also visited, where he got first-hand information from the project managers.
It's a close after about 2 to 300 meters down, but it is a close. And the two sides are located for close.
The street light is practically is all completed. All the electrical line has been installed. The only thing missing, but if you see displayed here, is the location of the transformer of this area.
He says that the recently passed 2024 budget gives an opportunity to do more.
This few months we came in 1 year, almost 1 year that the president has come in. With this budget, a lot of things will be done.
He also adds that the FCT administration will also focus on the education and health sector, as it has earmarked many schools and hospitals for renovation.
I didn't say here that we are going to concentrate only on the roads. We say we are going to dwell on the health sector and the education sector. Even agriculture, in terms of education, there are a few weeks we flagged up about the renovation of 19 schools. And I just said that we are going to take on 21 schools again under the 2024 budget. These people know. It's just that some Nigerians find it difficult to accept the reality of ground.
Wike says many of the projects being inspected will be commissioned by May the 29th. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
After about 12 weeks of partial closure for rehabilitation work, Third Mainland Bridge finally reopens. Now, the announcement of the reopening was made known in a statement by the Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation, Oluwaseun Oshiyemi, on his X account on Saturday, March 30th. Now, joining us live is our correspondent, Bettina Nweli, who is currently at the Third Mainland Bridge. Bettina. I see you.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. I can see you live on the bridge. Tell me, what's the current situation at the Third Mainland Bridge?
Hello, Judith, can you hear me?
Both sides loud and clear. Loud and clear. I can hear you, as well as the cars behind you. What's it like there? Both sides.
So far here on the Third Mainland Bridge, we've been here before 12. We can see movement of vehicles, but it's still pretty unclear whether both sides have been officially opened, because initially when we got here on the bridge, we had this side of the bridge being active, having vehicles pass, and like 5 minutes ago, we noticed that the activity on this side of the road was stopped for cars to begin to pass the other side of the road. And this has been a practice that they have been doing days before now. They will allow access on the bridge from 12 in the afternoon to a certain time before they lock the other part of the bridge. But for today, which is supposed to be the official opening day after months of these repairs, we are yet to understand why both sides of the bridge are not yet operating at this time. But we also have information that part of the repairs that took place on the bridge were the fact that they have placed CCTV cameras all up on the stretch of the bridge, and also changed the traffic lights, this outside lights to solar lights instead of the generator powered lights. So those are the basic differences that we can see when referring to the repairs on the bridge. But other than that, we're still waiting for more information, especially why both sides of the bridge are not working as of now.
I mean, I know people like you used to ply the bridge almost on a daily basis, where, you know, seriously affected by its closure. I mean, I didn't ply the bridge, but I also know what I faced and when it comes to people using the alternative route, which happens to be my own daily route. But can you put in perspective how exactly this closure may have impacted movement for others as well as yourself, and what the reopening would mean for the entirety of Lagos State?
Can you come again with that, please?
I'm asking you to talk to me about the impact when opening this bridge. This bridge is, I mean, it links the island and the mainland together. It's a route that yourself you use as well as, you know, many Lagosians. And Lagos is the commercial center or this the commercial commerce of Nigeria. I mean, with the reopening, what kind of impact would it mean for the entirety of Lagos? I want you to put that into perspective for me.
Oh, I believe that it's going to ease a lot of stress on Lagosians. Now, since the closure of the bridge, we've noticed that every other person that's trying to access the island part of Lagos State have to go, it's like taking a roundabout, going all the way around to get to your destination. When a destination that you could get to in like 1 hour, because of the closure of the bridge, it was taking some people 2, 3, even 4 hours, depending on how bad the traffic is. So the reopening of this bridge is going to really, really ease stress of Lagosians. Hopefully, maybe also reduce the price of bus fares, because now it's a straight ahead one-way trip, no need to turn around anymore. So all of those hopes are still, like I said, hopes, and we honestly are looking forward to the official opening of this bridge, because if it is not officially open today, then that means it's still going to be the same old shuffling of one side opening for a certain period of time and then another side opening, which really doesn't favor the average Lagosian. So we need to know that, okay, the Third Mainland Bridge is open for all and sundry to go through when they want to go through it, and also to place a sound of warning to Lagosians who will be applying the Third Mainland Bridge now that it is beginning to open. to watch their speed limits. Now I'm on the bridge and I can tell you that the roads are pretty smooth, very sweet for you to drive on, but please do not risk your life driving above the speed limits.
That's for those at the back that refuse to hear. Bettina, many thanks to you for doing this. Bettina Nweli, there, our correspondent live on the 3rd Mainland Bridge in Lagos, and just giving us updates as it's supposed to be reopened today. We'll take a short break on News Central now. Stay with us, don't go anywhere. And News Central now continues in West Africa, where Senegal's new president, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has set out his main priorities in his address to the nation on the eve of Senegal's Independence Day. The left-wing Pan-Africanist promises to take strong measures in the coming days to meet the need of Senegalese who are tired of the high cost of living. Faye has said his priorities include fighting corruption and lowering the cost of living, as well as national reconciliation after years of turmoil. The naming of opposition firebrand Sanko as prime minister seems a logical choice for the left-wing Pan-Africanist, who has never before held an elected office.
Instaurer une gouvernance vertueuse fondée sur l'éthique de responsabilité et l'obligation de rendre compte. En outre, j'engagerai sans tarder une politique hardie de bonne gouvernance économique et financière par la lutte sans répit contre la corruption, la répression pénale de la fraude fiscale et des flux financiers illicites, la protection des lanceurs d'alerte, la lutte contre le détournement des deniers publics et le blanchiment d'argent, l'amnistie des prête-noms et leur intéressement sous conditions d'autodénonciation, la publication des rapports de l'IGE, de la Cour des comptes et de l'OFNAC, l'exploitation de nos ressources naturelles qui, selon la Constitution, appartiennent au peuple, retiendra particulièrement l'attention de mon gouvernement. Ainsi, en plus de la mise en ligne déjà effective des contrats miniers, pétroliers et gaziers sur le site de l'ITIE Sénégal, je ferai procéder à la divulgation de la propriété effective des entreprises extractives conformément à la norme ITIE, à l'audit du secteur minier, gazier et pétrolier et à une protection plus soutenue du contenu local au bénéfice du secteur privé national.
We were supposed to be joined by African Affairs analyst and the General Secretary of the West African Civil Society Forum, Kupa Dabugat, who's supposed to join us for more in-depth here. So we hope to bring you that live interview moving forward. But until then, we move on now to more stories making the headlines at this hour, making the rounds at this hour, and this time to Togo, where the government has postponed legislative elections scheduled for April 20th due to contested constitutional reforms. Now, the president stated consultations were needed over the changes, which triggered opposition claims that the reforms were aimed at keeping President Faure Gnassingbé in power. Gnassingbé has won every election since 2005, but opposition claims irregularities. After a week of tensions over the reform, the president sent the law back to the National Assembly for a second reading, with opposition claiming it was a power grab. The government will conduct consultations with stakeholders and rearrange the calendar of legislative and regional elections with no date given. And on to South Africa, where former Parliament Speaker has been arrested as part of a craft inquiry. Now, this is the latest scandal to hit the governing ANC party ahead of elections in May. According to prosecutors, Nosiviwe Mapisa Kola has resigned his speaker as speaker post-Wednesday, formally detained after handing herself to police near Pretoria. The ANC veteran was due to appear before a judge and be fully charged with corruption and money laundering. Nkala is accused of soliciting hefty amounts in bribes from a former military contractor during her previous tenure as defense minister. She's denied all allegations. And still in the Rainbow Nation, where South Africa's Electoral Commission has outlined the importance of signing the Code of Conduct for the upcoming elections. The commission also conducted a public draw of all contesting parties and independents to determine the order of the contesting parties on the ballot paper. Furthermore, the commissioner also spoke about former President Jacob Zuma's exclusion from the ballot.
The draw of the ballot paper helps us with the sequencing of political parties on the ballot. There's always the coveted position of that one party which will be drawn out of the box, and that will then allow us to have an alphabetical sequence from that first one that is drawn outside of the box. So it's almost the final step towards the ballot preparation. So on next week, on the 10th, we will publish the final list of political parties as well as the candidates that have met the requirements. The Commission will be filing its answering papers in the Electoral Court related to the candidature of the erstwhile president. The Commission has maintained that it has acted within the purview of the law and the Constitution, and that there is nothing untoward with the manner in which that objection was treated. However, we will submit that answering affidavit today, and will await the Electoral Court to determine how they prosecute rather the matter further. We will traverse that issue in the papers. We do not want to place that material here now, but in the afternoon we may be in a position, once we filed with the court, to give you some insights on that aspect. Tomorrow there are 6 applications.
And on to the east of the continent, where Sudan's persecution has accused former Prime Minister Amla Hamdok of inciting war against the state and other charges that could carry the death penalty. Hamdok, a prominent civilian politician, was the first premier in Sudan's fragile transition following a popular uprising. He was placed under house arrest after an October 2021 coup by former allies Danglo and Barhan. After a brief reinstatement, Hamdok resigned in January of 2022 and fled to Abu Dhabi. He has since re-emerged as part of a new coalition known as Take Dam. The prosecutor's office is also loyal to military chief Abdul Fattah al-Burhan. And so on to Sudan. Let's tell you now that Sudanese are fleeing battles in Khartoum and have begun to talk about the dire situation they're facing in a camp for internally displaced people in the eastern state of Gadaref amid shortages of food and medications. Now, after nearly a year of war, Sudan is suffering one of the worst humanitarian crises in recent history. The United Nations has slammed the international community for its lack of action on the ongoing war in the East African country. Earlier on Tuesday, a drone attack killed 12 people and injured 30 in Atbara in northeast Sudan, a city that had until now been spared the country's brutal warfare.
بعاني من اللي بياكلوا ما لاقينه. في ناس عديل ما صايمين. في ناس عديل ما صايمين. يعني اللي بياكلوا كده في خشومهم ما عندهم. يعني بيشربوها مويه بيضاء من جا رمضان ده. وفي الناس الحافيانين وفي الناس العريانين، وفي ناس جروا سايب هدومهم. يعني عندهم رقم وطن ولا عندهم اثباتات ولا عندهم اي شيء. حتى العلاجات اللي بتجي للعامه، الضغط، ناس السكري ده خليهم ساي. ما في اساسا. تجي بنادول بس ثاني ما في اي شيء.
دنيا رمضان نحن دايرين دعم تجينا. الاولاد جعانين، ما في اكل، ما في شراب، ما في لبس. يعني ما قادرين، ما عرفنا الفاهم شنو. يقول لنا المنظمه جايكم لكن ما جاني اي شيء. يجينا ناس الادويه يا حبيبي يجيب لنا المسكنات، ناس السكري والضغط وما في. عندهم جاعيون رمد ما في. جايه من الخرطوم لمدني. حس لما معجنه وقضارب. حالتنا يعني صعبه شديده. هنا نوم في الوطا والعكس صعبه، يحمل المويه دي لكن مشاكلها كثير والعيال بيكونوا مريضين وما في يعني مستشفى صحي عشان الزول يمشي عليه يعني الحالة صعبة شديد.
Staying in the East, Human Rights Watch has called for the United Nations to investigate war crimes committed by the Ethiopian army in the Amhara region. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission estimated that at least 45 people were killed in Mirawi city on January 29th after clashes with local militia Fano. The group claims that Ethiopian soldiers shot civilians on the streets and pillaged and destroyed civilian properties. The incident was among the deadliest for civilians during the fighting between Ethiopian federal forces and Fano militia since August of 2023. HRW has urged the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights to launch an independent inquiry into the abuses in the region and called on the African Union to suspend all deployments of Ethiopian federal forces to peacekeeping missions until commanders responsible for grave abuses are held accountable. And we're now in Kenya, where doctors working in Kenyan state-run hospitals have rejected a government offer aimed at ending a 3-week-long strike. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, which represents over 7,000 members, went on strike on March 15th to demand payment of their salary arrears and the immediate hiring of trainee doctors. The government asked the doctors to end their strike in a statement issued last Tuesday, saying the salary arrears have been paid and that trainee doctors would be hired from Thursday this week at a cost of about $18.39 million. Now, the workout, which has been compounded by a strike by clinical officers that started this week, has left patients struggling to access care from expensive private hospitals, leading to worsening chronic illnesses and even death. 3 security personnel, including the deputy of a police station, have been killed in terrorist attacks in Iran. Now, this comes 2 days after 7 Iranian Revolutionary Guards were killed in an air raid in Syria. Ali Raza Mahamati, the deputy governor of the province, said that the jihadist Jaish al-Adin group, which was formed in 2012 and is blacklisted by Iran as a terrorist group, claimed responsibility for the attacks. The attacks came less than 48 hours after an airstrike on the Iranian consular annex in Damascus killed 7 of the guards, and 2 of them were generals. Still in Iran, where the president says that Israel will regret the airstrike on Iranian consular annex in Damascus, which killed 7 guards, 2 of them generals. The president said this in a televised speech. However, Israeli government official said that those killed have been behind many attacks on Israeli and American assets and had planned for additional attacks. They also insisted that the embassy was not a target.
همه اصول انسانی و مقررات بین‌المللی از جمله حمله تروریستی این رژیم به کنسولگری جمهوری اسلامی ایران در دمشق اگرچه بی‌پاسخ نخواهد ماند، اما اوج سرخوردگی و درماندگی این رژیم را نشان میده. به حول قوه الهی رژیم غاصب صهیونیستی به دست دلاور مردان جبهه مقاومت مجازات خواهد شد. آنها از این جنایت و امثال آن پشیمان خواهند. متاسفانه مدعیان دروغین حقوق بشر در غرب سکوت خجالت‌آوری را پیشه کردند و نه تنها تلاشی برای توقف ماشین کشتار رژیم صهیونیستی نمی‌کنند، بلکه با محوریت امریکا آشکار و پنهان در این جنایات مشارکت.
Zambia has successfully negotiated a restructuring agreement with a consortium of private creditors concerning $3 billion of its international bonds. Now, this development marks a significant advancement in the country's prolonged debt restructuring process. Now, the agreement entails consolidating Zambia's 3 current bonds into 2 amortized bonds. Notably, one of these bonds offers increased repayments contingent upon improvements in the nation's economic prospects and its ability to manage its debt obligations effectively. And we'll move away now from business and on to sports. And in sports, Iyemba has beaten Kano Pillars 5-0 to move to the 2nd position on 48 points. In the match played at the Yemba Stadium, Eze Ikwatozium put the home team ahead in the 14th minute after the visiting team's goalkeeper had marred Joseph Atule's shot into his way. Yemba made it 2-0 through Chijoke Mbaoma, who utilized a pass from Ikwatozium, who beat two Canopilas defenders. Atule made it 3-0 with a powerful header to pass from Ikenna Awozium in the 44th minute. In the 69th minute, Atule made it a brace for himself to make it 4-0 after dribbling past two defenders. Alade Balogun rose from the bench to make it 5-0 in the 19th minute, following a pass from Chibueze Izuogu.
I'm very, very happy that I'm back to my scoring ways, and what the fans and the coaches and everybody in Ava has been expecting. I'm so happy that I'm able to deliver and give them what they want to say. Having no recording goals for the past games, but I'm so happy that I'm back in the scoring sheet. And I believe I'm going to do more, because being on my normal self now, the fans and everybody should be expecting more from me.
On to Turkey, where Trabzonspor has been ordered to play 6 games behind closed doors after violence broke out following last month's Turkish Super League defeat by Fenerbahce. Now, fans ran onto the pitch and attacked Fenerbahce's players and security forces at the Papara Park in Trabzon. Now, 2 Fenerbahce's players were given 1-game bans for fighting with rival fans. The club have also been fined 3 million Turkish lira, and the coach has been banned from the dressing room and bench for 1 month or 1 match, I beg your pardon, for fighting with a rival player. Fenerbahce's Nigerian winger Bright Osiye Samuel, who was seen knocking one pitch invader to the ground, was not sanctioned. And on to tennis, where the men's ATP Tour will try to spice up double tennis by applying changes, including a 15-second serve clock and reserving slots for teams to enter tournaments using their singles rankings. The ATP announced. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Nigerian manufacturers, Labour, have decried the 240% increase in electricity tariff. Former South African Parliament Speaker Nosi Ziviwe has been arrested. And we also told you that the Human Rights Watch have called for a United Nations probe into Ethiopian army killings. I can send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now on your screen. And make sure to go follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith, Atibi.